Hi, everybody. So today we're going to investigate how to read a play. Now, it's not that I don't think you know what a play is or that you know how to read. I'm pretty convinced you know both of those things. But there are different ways that you were to read a play than you would a novel, and there's also some similarities. So a play is not a book, but it is a form of literature. And we've already done some investigation of play format. For example, you know how it's typed, that a character is usually bolded with a colon and then there's their line, and you know what this thing called stage direction is. So you're already well on your way to understanding how to read a play. Today we're going to look into how to read a play thoughtfully. So you may then perhaps produce this play. You might be a designer, an actor, or a director of this play. How do you read it for not just information, not just understanding, but for more complex understanding of all the elements that make up a play? So the first three things that we're focusing on have to do with the environment, and you need to really engage your imagination as you begin to read a play. The more that you can think about what's going on and what's happening and invest in these characters' journeys, the better. And the first way I'd like you to think about is the environment. Where are these characters? Where is this story taking place? So first of all, we have, where is the play set? So that means location, right? Exactly where it is. Is it in a classroom? Is it in a castle? Is it in a field? Just exactly location. And now some plays might have many locations throughout that you'll have to identify. Secondly, when is the play set? So that means what time. So that could be simply contemporary modern day, or it could be Middle Ages, it could be Renaissance, it could be 1980s. And then beyond that, just the time of day. Is it morning? Is it night? Is it very early in the morning, 3 a.m., let's say? That would affect lighting design, and of course, just the characters because they've been up late or it's first thing in the morning. And the last thing I want you to consider are, what are the main markers in that location? And that basically just means, or what are the things that they've talked about having to have? Well, there's the throne room in the castle is really important, or the graveyard outside has graves. Some plays, you might need a couch, but it's not a focus of it. But the fireplace and the mantle and what's placed on the mantle is really important. Secondly, I want you to imagine the scenic environment. What are the specific layouts of the scene? So this is when you're getting more specific. You've talked about the general, it's a castle. Now talk to me exactly what that throne room looks like. There's two thrones. It's on a platform high and above everybody else. There's columns, etc. Kind of start to imagine the general layout. And then think about what characters are present in what scenes and what those layouts look like. Because if you have 60 people on stage, you're going to need a lot more space to fit those people. Now, if it's only two characters in the scene, you'll need a lot less space. So start thinking about how much space you need. Um, Next, imagine the character's appearance. You want to think about these people as human beings. What do they look like? What are they, not just what they're wearing, which is important, but physically, what do they look like? And go back to the text. Is the text giving you clues? Are there characters that mention a hair color of a character, or what they're wearing, a color of a dress, how large or small they are, tall or short? The text often holds all the answers. So think about, again, then physically, what do they wear? How do they move? Do they have to dance throughout the whole play? If so, they're going to need to be able to wear something they can move in. Is it something that they're doing stage combat? That's going to change the way they move. Are they corseted and then therefore walk in a certain way? I want you to imagine the language of the play. Now, you're reading the language, right, because you're reading text. But I mean hear it. As you read it, I want you to hear it. I want you to imagine that you hear it. So you're hearing the rhythm of how someone speaks, the poetry of it, the vocal variation, the emphasis. What does that sound like? What does this character sound like? Are they sort of cool and easygoing and sort of like, hey, everybody? Or are they super hyper and need to get things done and are agitated and anxious? Hear that. That tells you a lot about characters well. And a good playwright really writes that into the language of each character. Um, Think about the action of the text. So the gestures, the movements, the action, what they have to do to the other characters on stage. And then the subtext, which we haven't really talked much about and is really important, and good playwrights do this really well, is fill the text with ideas that the characters don't actually say. How many times have you said to a friend, "How you doing?" and they go, "Fine," and it's clear that they are not fine? It's clear to you that there's a lot of subtext of, "I've had a terrible day, I just failed my math test, my best friend was really mean to me, I'm terrible," but they just say fine. Well, all that other stuff that's going on in your head or their head at the time is called subtext. So it's text that's thought but not said. Another thing you're going to have to do is imagine production elements of the play. So think about the lighting moods would create. What time of day is it? It goes back to that. But what mood, what atmosphere are you trying to create with lights? What are they wearing? How would you costume the play? Is it a Shakespeare play where there's lots of different characters and lots of families? Maybe we're going to costume those families in light colors so the audience has an easier time identifying who belongs to who. How would you design the set? How would you stage the play if you're going to be a director? These are things that should happen in your head. And a good play will actually plant those ideas in your head for you, but you do need to become aware and think about it. Lastly, but certainly not the least important, is what is the playwright's intention? You know, we get to start with the play, which is the first piece of the art form we're creating. So you need to think about, what did the playwright want for this play? What were the themes? What do you think the playwright is trying to communicate to the audience? Who is this play for? Your audience and who you're performing for really defines all of your design elements, so it's important you understand that. Is there a moral to the play? Is there a lesson or a message we're supposed to be left with? I'd like to think of this one. What do you believe the playwright is trying to communicate? As in, what does the playwright want the audience to leave talking about? What are they discussing? Or is it just, "Oh, that was lovely," and leave and never think about it again? I think good plays make us talk. Lastly, what images are you left when reading the play? What are the moments of the play that stick with you? What do you remember? Or what do you see as you're reading it that is a strong image? Those are things to think about as you begin to read your play and think about design ideas. Remember, stage directions sometimes are very carefully put in by the playwright to help shape the story and shouldn't ever be ignored. Always should have consideration, but they're also not hard and fast rules. We talked about the difference between obligatory and psychological blocking. Some of that is very obligatory to the story, but think about how you don't have to create a set exactly how that first production was created. I want you to think outside the box and think about what your production looks like. I hope this helps you think more about the production total. I want you to enjoy, and reading your first play, make sure to do it thoughtfully. Thanks, guys. See you later.